Welcome back to WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. We're really glad you're with us today, and we're also delighted to be joined by Secretary Hal Heiner, who runs the Cabinet for Health and Workforce Development in Kentucky. You don't run the Department of Education. That's what people sometimes in Kentucky, that is run by the Education Commissioner. But you're advising the governor on policy and in making suggestions to the legislature. And you're enjoying the job.
Yeah,
right?
I'll tell you, it's a privilege to be there. And certainly on education and workforce, if we're going to move Kentucky forward, it's a front row seat to help our state, help our economy, help people move ahead in this new economy.
Well, we need all of that.
That's right, but we have a very broad cabinet, so the Kentucky Department of Education is attached to our cabinet, but decisions are made by the Kentucky Board of Education working with their Commissioner of Education, Stephen Pruitt. But we have the opportunity to interact, encourage, look out. You know, with large operations, often just getting the operation to run smoothly takes up all of your time. So we're encouraging greater focus on the way other states have moved their school systems forward to look at those ideas and bring them to the state.
You like this idea of dual credit. That is, if the students are getting high school and college credit at the same time, and you told me that students need to make decisions earlier and get on a path.
Well, the world we live in today, I mean, in the last 6 years, 99% of the jobs created in this country require education past high school. You know, a high school diploma just is no longer enough. Some of the estimates are by 2025, 80% of the jobs will require some education past high school. It might be an industrial certification in machining, welding, nursing, some area, but something past high school. So what the school systems that are moving out the fastest, and we have some of those in Kentucky, is actually bringing post-secondary, bringing colleges and universities into their schools, having the students complete some post-secondary work while they're there, and two things happen. One, it reduces the cost of college because some of those credits are already complete. But the other thing, and more importantly, is that research shows that 90% of those students will go on with their post-secondary education. That even if, say, mom and dad didn't go on in post-secondary education, which is real common in our generation, that they know they can be successful. They've completed 3, 6, 9, 12, in some schools, 62 years of college in some advanced schools in the state. But getting that under their belt is likely they'll go on with their education. And secondly, if they don't go on immediately, they can get a great job right as they finish high school and be able to support themselves instead of moving into a $10 an hour job.
So that hunger for knowledge can be set off by that early college credit.
Yeah, and a really great chemistry thing happens as well. And I'm not talking about the subject, but you know, our studies show that only about 1/4 of the students in high school are excited to be there. 3/4 would rather be someplace else. But when you start making these offerings of career pathways, whether they're in you know, advanced manufacturing, academic, college academic paths, health sciences, a whole host of areas, IT, coding, when you start, all of a sudden a student's interest perks up. And we all know what happens when learning is deeper, it's retained longer, and we get that student to the first rung or second rung of a career ladder. And once they get to the first or second rung in life, they want to move faster. So our economy in Kentucky demands it. Our skill and education levels are low. They need to be on a path.
And Mr. Secretary, how responsive are our colleges, our technical schools, our high schools for that matter, in figuring out where the job growth is going to be, where the careers are, where the money is going to be made, and steering students in that direction? And then, of course, the other side of that debate is, well, can't they do anything they want to do and be anything they want to be? Well,
there's a great new buzz across the state. You know, we used to talk about vocational education, you know, shop class and all of that. We've actually banned those terms in our cabinet. And we're talking about college career. But two things have happened. One is the state last session funded dual credit scholarships for the first time. We pay the school districts for the fees they give to colleges and universities for these courses. And we've seen a 50% increase in college courses in high schools in 1 year in Kentucky. The second is the legislature approved $100 million to ramp up the facilities and equipment in our career and training centers because it was old equipment. A lot of it was bought and built in the 60s and 70s. So we're ramping it up to the kind of college careers. We're talking about careers $50,000 to $150,000 in careers, and our facilities need to have relevant equipment and look like a career. So there's a great buzz across the state.
You've already set aside $65 million of that, right? It's been earmarked?
That's right. Of the $100 million, 65 has gone to 25 great projects. And by the way, that's going to leverage $150 million in improvements in our career system.
All right, and you said you'd ban some of those terms, but do you in any way fear that playing to the numbers, the larger numbers of students who, are going to go on to those kinds of careers, that will mean that higher achieving students in the state may be lost in the shuffle, that they don't go on to become doctors and pharmacists and engineers as you are, where they could perhaps earn much more?
Oh, not at all. It's a and situation. We have of our high school graduates, currently we have about 60% that go on to post-secondary education. And we're trying to ramp up the academic level in our high schools. Our goal is that 30% of our high school teachers be adjunct faculty of universities and colleges. So those students know they can make it, that they're already prepared to go. 40% of our students right now do not go on to post-secondary, and we want every one of those 40% to be on a career path that they can build a great life for themselves. So we're moving on both paths at the same time.
The governor spoke in his State of the Commonwealth address about trying to get students more educated on their own finances, on civics and that kind of thing. We hear employers talk about so-called soft skills, simple things like showing up on time, dependability, effectively communicating, being able to pass a drug screening. Are we getting those things addressed? Isn't that where we have to really start?
You know, I think over the next 24 months, there certainly is a push for financial literacy, civics, some sort of basic understandings as a citizen in this country, how to build a resume, what's an interview look like. That is important, and we hear that constantly from employers. They talk about skill and education level, but they also talk about what I'll call life skills for these individuals. So the schools, tight is always time in schools, but spending a certain amount of time on those issues, I think we are going to have to do it.
Where would you like to see Kentucky be in this regard in 5 years or so?
Yeah, well, my goal is that by 2022, that no one graduates a high school in Kentucky without post-secondary credit, either on the academic route or the career route. And they can go either way. But pick a route, get started, have some post-secondary success that already under your belt, and I think we'll be a different state as a result.
Secretary Heiner, thanks for coming. Appreciate it very much.
I appreciate the opportunity.
And thank you for being here. Thank you for being along on Kentucky Newsmakers. We are back with more in just a moment.